Are we in focus? And by we, I mean me, because there's nobody else here. Oh my God. My shirt is inside out. This is not a how to live your life video. This is a how to recover video. I'm joking, it's neither. This is my 6-year recovery anniversary video. Hi guys. It was 6 years ago today on August 29th, 2013, which means I'm not 25 anymore. Actually, I keep introducing myself to people and telling them I'm 27, which is not true, by 4 years. Apparently I'm emotionally stunted at that stage because it just falls out of my mouth. I'm not intentionally lying. I just apparently identify as a 27-year-old now and always will. 27 was a good year, that's okay. But yeah, I was 25. I was on my way to my first psychologist appointment and going into recovery from my eating disorder and depression. And it's funny because last year I made a video about 5 years in recovery. Go and watch it if you haven't seen it. Even though it doesn't have as many views as some of my more popular videos, it is probably the one I'm proudest of. I love that video. It goes into a bit more detail about the history of, you know, my eating disorder and recovery and the channel and becoming a coach, ambassador, etc. But it feels different this year. And because this year has been different, but being 6 years down the line from that 25-year-old girl sitting on the floor in her apartment, very cold, very moldy apartment. I don't know how I got out of there alive, not just from the eating disorder, but the mold spores I'm quite sure I was ingesting. But she had no idea even what she could have imagined recovery was going to mean for her or bring her. Even the best thing she could have imagined for herself, she wasn't even close. But I don't feel as connected to that person, to that experience. I can't remember the day-to-day, minute, technicolor details of what it was like living day-to-day with my eating disorder, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's been happening increasingly over the last couple of years, but it's very, very accurate this year that I really can put myself back into that headspace, but I don't identify with that person anymore. Those of you who follow me on Instagram might have read the letter that I wrote to myself about my recovery, sort of writing to myself a few months into recovery and just saying how grateful I was or am for all the work that 25-year-old Mia put in and how fortunate she was and privileged she was to get treatment in the first place, but that she took advantage of that and gave it her all. Didn't do it perfectly, none of us do, but really, really, really worked hard, not knowing specifically how any of it was going to pan out, without really anyone who she could see as an example. Recovery community was not really a thing back then, and I didn't know anyone in my real life, personal, tangible, everyday life who had recovered or who had an eating disorder. Like I'd never paid attention or heard, I don't know. Every year I just become more and more just astounded by the path that led me down. And so I just feel, I think, much more still and calm in how grateful I feel about it all. Other years it's been like, oh my God, 4 years, 5 years, let's get together, let's have dinner, let's, you know, go for a few drinks, it's amazing. And when I get home, I'm doing that. Any of my friends watching, start stocking up on champagne now. I'm kidding. Sort of, not really. Please do that. I am just in a much more, I don't know, much more still sense of who I am and what it's all meant. And I just feel a lot more reflective and like I can sort of see the big picture, whereas it's always felt like I'm doing this and I'm working on that and this next thing's going to be great. And, you know, when I get to that point, I'm always go, go, go. And I think a lot of what I've gone through recently and the fact that like my whole life has slowed down because I am taking care of myself through my grief from my father's passing. And I do just feel much more solid in that sense of gratitude and my gratitude for everything that recovery has given me. without recovery, I would not have survived my dad passing away. And I am so certain down to my core, always have been, but I feel like this is the tangible evidence to say I am fully recovered. If I could go through what I've just gone through in the last 2.5 months and not have a second, a flicker of wanting to hurt myself or restrict or move my body, gosh, I didn't do so much as go for a walk for about 5 or 6 weeks, and rarely am doing it now because it was not my priority. It rarely is these days. But the fact that I didn't for a second have a moment of pause that was even an option, or even something my brain tapped into where I had to intercept and go, no, I don't do that anymore, didn't even float to the surface. And my father meant the world to me. He was such a core part, and he's still my dad. He's such a core part of me and my identity and my support system. So if there was anything that was going to knock me back down, it was that, on the other side of the world, away from the majority of my friends and family, except for my sister and brother-in-law, without the stability of having somewhere to live for the first month that we were here. It had the makings of everything that was going to pull the rug out from under me, and it didn't. And part of that is because I am recovered, but part of it is because of what recovery taught me. How it taught me to take care of myself. I tell clients all the time, and I want you guys to know, recovery is not just about getting over your eating disorder. Like, oh, you get over it and then you just leave all that stuff behind. Recovery is a crash course, a very difficult one. One that I wouldn't wish on anyone, but that you can get enormous benefit out of, because it teaches you so much about yourself, your vulnerabilities, your true sense of who you are, your values. It teaches you how to take care of yourself, prioritize yourself, how to have boundaries, how to know yourself so well that nothing can get between you and taking care of yourself, and making sure that at the end of everything and anything that you are going to be okay. And I am okay. Life is not perfect. Recovery was never that guarantee. Recovery could never guarantee that my dad wasn't going to die. It could guarantee that I was going to be okay no matter what. The eating disorder will lie to you and say that, you know, it will make everything okay. But eating disorders can't stop people from dying. In fact, if you've got one, your chances of dying sort of increase exponentially. Even if it promises you that you won't have to feel all those awful feelings, because it will numb you and it will protect you. Even when things hurt, guys, even when there is grief or heartbreak, that is a privilege. That is a privilege. And a part of the deal of being a person and loving people, that you, regardless of how much it hurts, that you get to feel that you have loved someone that much, or that you've cared about something that much, that the loss of it or the disappointment of it hurts. Not to mention that if you protect yourself from all that scary stuff, you're protecting yourself from the wonderful stuff too. And I wouldn't have traded the feeling of loving my father and loving my loved ones and having the great experiences that I do, even if it meant I never had to feel completely the loss of them or the disappointment of things not working out. And I'm sorry I'm so emotional. It's no wonder why. It's been a big couple of weeks, which just happens to coincide with my anniversary, so everything's feeling a bit reflective. But yeah, I feel very calm and still in my very immense gratitude at the moment. I can't imagine not being here. I can't imagine not having had the experiences I've had over the last few years. And that's part of my job, is to tell you from the other side how worth it can be, how limitless your life is, how infinite your possibilities are. I could never have imagined that I would get to work with people and help them to recover, and the unbelievable sense of purpose that I get from that, and that I am exactly where I'm meant to be, doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing every day of my life. Being able to spend time with people like my phenomenal friends and family, having people around me who are genuine and funny and honest and kind and loving, and having this corner of the world. When I first came over here to take care of my dad, I decided I was going to sort of stop with advocacy stuff and online stuff for a little while, because I just didn't know that that was the right thing for me to be doing, and I wanted to be really present with him. And then he was like, what are you talking about? You have to keep doing that stuff. That's who you are. That's, you know, I love working on that stuff with you. And we worked on a lot of channel stuff and projects that I've got in the works for you guys. We brainstormed together and got to spend some great time together in that sense. But ultimately, the reason I wanted to come back when I first came over here was because this place is like home. There are people on this channel who have been here since day one. And here we go again. Sometimes on YouTube, there can be a lot of, you know, people not being genuine and saying things to their audience that they don't necessarily mean. And I've always tried not to do that. But particularly with what you guys have demonstrated for me and to me in the last couple of weeks, I just want you to know from me how proud I am of all of you. How proud I am of your character and your kindness and your compassion. And it's because of that that I know that you guys can do anything in your recovery, because that's really what it takes. I want you to take what you've done for me in the last couple of weeks with your beautiful emails and checking in on me and comments and sending wishes even to my family and to my sister specifically. And I want you to give some of that to yourself, because you have it in you. You believe that other people deserve to be treated with compassion and kindness. So you have that in you. You can do that for yourself. Yeah, this community above all is my greatest accomplishment, if I can take credit for all of you. But in terms of things that I am proudest of, what we have built here is definitely top of that list. And I know my dad was really proud. It's an emotional day. My dad was really proud of this channel. My dad was someone who went out and did incredible things and changed people's lives, and he was an innovator and he was an incredible businessman, but his goal was always to make people feel heard and understood and to create lasting change for their lives to improve. And that's something we really connected on. So the fact I know how proud he was of what we've built and what we do here means that this community will always have such a solid place in my heart. So thank you for that. Thank you for making my dad proud. Okay, so I think that about wraps it up. I have a whole bunch of questions from you guys about full recovery, and we're going to get to that next week. I'm going to dedicate a video to it because I said I'd try to answer all of them, but you asked me over 100 questions. So a few of them are double up, so we'll hopefully get to quite a few of them, but I'm going to do a dedicated video for next week, so definitely check back for that. There is a brand new episode of the podcast up which went up yesterday, talking to Millie Thomas, who is a recovery coach based on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. And we talked about being fully recovered, working as coaches. She's been an integral part of the Ended Butterfly House, which is the first inpatient residential facility opening in Australia next year. So we talked a lot about that as well. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and go and give us a review on Apple Podcasts if you could as well. Thank you for another year. Thank you for your support. I can't start talking about that again or I'm gonna cry, because that's what you guys do to me. You make me feel very overwhelmed with love and support, and then I cry. But just know it is so appreciated. I'll definitely be back for number 7 next year, and I will be back next week with the Q&A. I will see you guys then. Come and find me on Instagram and Twitter under What Mia Did Next, as always, in the meantime, much love. Take care. Bye, guys.